you see somebody on a social media influencer, um, and you think they're going to be great, and you're really excited to meet them, and you think they've got this great personality, and you start to interview them, and either they can't shake putting it on and it's just all kind of a show and pushing it out, or they're so used to like editing their videos to be perfect. And so sometimes it tricks us with the social medias.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Unscripted Files. My name is Madeline Cunningham and I am a development producer in the unscripted industry, bringing you candid conversations with the minds behind your favorite form of entertainment. Happy Friday, happy holiday weekend, and happy start of summer. I really can't believe it. This year has absolutely flown by. We're already almost done with this first season of the Unscripted Files. Absolutely crazy. Again, every time I'm excited for you to meet our guest today. This is a prolific casting director, Emmy Award winning, responsible for hit shows like The Traitors, The Circle, Golden Bachelor, Got to Get Out, and so many more. We talk about her casting career, what she looks for, red flags, what she wants, and then we focus on the latest project that she's casting for, the Fear Factor reboot, Fear Factor: The Next Chapter. Fear Factor was a show that me and my family watched a lot growing up. It's very nostalgic for me for some reason. And it was so much fun to get to talk to her about what the process is going to look like for Fear Factor and the little bit that she could share about this reboot that's coming late 25 or 26 on Fox. So this is my really fun, incredible, engaging conversation with Erin Tomasello. Erin Tomasello, welcome to the Unscripted Files. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. I've been following you on Instagram, Golden Bachelor, Got to Get Out, The Circle, and now Fear Factor: The Next Chapter, which we'll get into in a little bit. But I just want to hear a little bit more about you, how you got into this career and how you got your start.
Amazing. Yeah. So I was actually born and raised in a little tiny town in Northern California called Truckee, California, up there in Lake Tahoe.
Truckee, like the vehicle, Truckee.
Yep. Truckee,
Wow.
Truckee, what it's named after, I believe. And it was where the Donner Party is. Everyone's heard of the Donner Party, right? So that
Yeah.
Donner Lake is where I grew up, in that area where the Donner Party was. So tons of snow and mountains and outdoors, and just I was a mountain girl. I still am a mountain girl at heart, and so never really, you know. Didn't really know where that would take me, but I had big dreams as a little girl. I loved acting and being in front of the camera and doing theater. And I always had this larger than life personality. I was very bossy. You can ask any of my friends. I bossed them all around. So I was born bossy. My senior year of high school, we had a paper due of what we wanted to be and do when we grew up. And then I also was taking this elective at that time called Community Calendar. And they were looking for hosts to volunteer to host this community news program. And so I volunteered, and it just kind of lit a fire in me of something that I didn't know that I wanted to pursue. And I loved being in front of the camera. I loved learning all aspects of production, what it takes behind the camera, and it lit a fire in me. And so I ended up writing this English paper for my class about that I wanted to work in television. So fast forward to going to college, I took broadcasting classes. So if any of your listeners are interested and you want to follow the same path I did, I loved taking TV broadcasting classes. And kind of my tool belt that got me ready to move down to LA was I learned everything. I learned camera work, I learned how to edit, I learned how to do it all. And so when I came down and I was a small fish in a big sea down here in Los Angeles, and I would see the jobs that were hiring, I would say, you know what? I've got a little bit of experience in all of this. And that kind of led me to casting. And so it's called a casting recruiter. It was for MTV Date and Date My Mom and Next. I don't know if you might be too young.
Oh, those were the shows that I was sneakily watching that my parents didn't know, that were so unhinged. Love Next.
Okay, good. So that was one of my first jobs, and I was fresh off the boat in Los Angeles, so new. They would pay me, I don't know if I should say this, but it was $25 per yes. So it wasn't even a salary. I'm sure that's illegal.
It was an incentive.
And so like I would go out and I would hit the streets. I would have my little clipboard and I would go meet people at nightclubs and bars and all these I would wait outside at 2 a.m. When the bar would let out and I would sign all these people up to be on these dating shows. And it was hilarious because some of them the next day I'd be like, "Hi, it's Erin. Do you remember me? Signed up for this dating show?" And they're like, no, I don't. I don't remember you, or I was drunk and I don't want to do it anymore." But I was great at it. And I love talking to people. I was fearless. I would walk up to the group of the hottest guys and say, "Hey, do you want to be on this show?" And so, that kind of was my first foot in the door into casting. And then finally, I landed a desk job, which was so much fun. And my first couple shows with The Bachelor, I found The Bachelor and Fear Factor back in the day, the original Joe Rogan Fear Factor I worked on, tons of them, Master Chef. I could go on and on. And then that led me to kind of even building further in my career where I got to do The Circle. I've been in the head of casting for The Circle for every single season that we've done. And that was amazing and so much fun and changed my life. It's just such a fun show to work on. The Traitors season 1 was an absolute blast. That's where I got to take home my Emmy, which was too cool. And so now we are here. We're jumping on Fear Factor. So that's a little bit of background of how I got started, where I come from. I live in Los Angeles and I'm still following my dreams, but I always will be that small town girl at heart.
Love that. Social anxiety is afraid of you. Like the idea that you are like out in the clubs, boots on the ground, going up to people, scouting, like that feels so like OG reality to me. And I love that. Do you feel like that extroversion is essential in casting?
Totally. And so I've got my teams now and I feel like the old lady, right? And they're wonderful at social media. And we have to pivot with the new way to find people. And social media is a gift to us casting folks because we used to have to fly all over the United States and meet people the old fashioned way, which I miss and I love. And that will always be something that is important to continue to do. So it's almost blending the new school with the old school. So continuing to be fearless, constantly working. If I'm at an airport, if I'm at the restaurant, if I'm at my kids' play, I'm always looking, I'm always watching, I'm looking for people that have huge personalities, but then you can't help but TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I remember when MySpace first started coming out, I was like, this is amazing. I could search a whole fraternity house, if we were casting
Right.
a show that needed, guys like that. And so all those tools are really great for us casting folks. It can also trick us because you see somebody on a social media influencer, and everybody seems to be an influencer nowadays. And you think they're going to be great, and you're really excited to meet them, and you think they've got this great personality, and you start to interview them, and either they can't shake putting it on, and it's just all kind of a show and pushing it out, which is really hard, because we want real people that are going to really put themselves out there, or they're so used to like editing their videos to be perfect. And so sometimes it tricks us with the social media. So you really we have steps in our casting process where we do like a first initial phone call. And if they make it past that, we do a Zoom. If they make it past that, we'll do like finals just to really, really try to get through and know the person.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's like the last cast like person we know that you scouted in person, that you like saw in person?
You're putting me on the spot.
Just the idea, because I think like I remember like ANTM back in the day, at least for me, and like the real world, and there would be these like this lore of like, oh, they came up to me and my whole life changed, the hills, whatever.
Well, Andy from Trader season 1, did you watch Trader season 1 with Andy?
Yes.
Yes. So Andy is a very special person to me. They actually don't originally come from my hometown, but they live in Reno, Nevada, which is very close to Truckee. And a producer that I worked with years ago sent me an email and said, I have a very special person that you need to meet. And it was Andy. And for 5 years, I was trying to get them on a show. So it was just like show after show, pitching, trying. And I always tell everybody, if your viewers are watching right now or listening in, don't ever give up. Because I am telling you, sometimes it's just whoever you believe in up above or the universe, but when timing works out and it's meant to be, it'll happen. And so it was like when Andy made it on that show, it was so special to me. And I think they were a wonderful addition to that show in the heart of it. And
Totally.
so that was probably one cool one that I found that was sent to me that had a special place in my heart.
Yeah. What is that it factor? You know, you're saying you can scout people on social media, but once you meet them in person, they might fall flat. It takes you a couple of rounds to really see if they've got it. For you specifically, what is that it factor?
It's so funny because it's like you either have it or you don't. But with that being said, I don't want people watching this thinking that they have to pretend like they're like Joey Sasso or they're like people that they see on TV. The biggest favor you can do to yourself when you're on an interview with someone like me or my colleagues is be true to yourself, be true to your heart, speak from your heart. The biggest mistake I see people make is telling us what they think we want to hear, putting it on, giving us game show, speaking in sound bites. It's like you're doing yourself a disservice. Just really, and not everybody's me. Not everybody's loud now going and big reactions. I'm naturally like this. I'm like this all the time. Not everybody's like that. And you don't have to be to make it on a show. Look at Andy. You know what I mean? So to make a good ensemble cast, everybody's different. Everybody has their own personality, your own special uniqueness, the weird, whatever it is that's what we love. So dive into who you are, the quirky, the different. I love having an ensemble cast of all different shapes, sizes, people, where they come from, what they stand for, what they believe in, reflecting what we actually see in this real world, right? Diversity and inclusion, all of that. So don't try to be anybody but yourself.
I love that. And I hear that a lot, you know, that the it factor isn't one thing. It's not that you're extroverted and big and loud. It's something that you tend to feel and it can sort of vary across people. Are you looking for people who are going to challenge each other and like what when you're building, what's going through your head with this like game of Tetris?
Yes. And to be honest, I'm not necessarily the builder, but we are throwing everything at the wall and giving them options to see what sticks, to see what will work for them to do the final building, to have this great mixtures of characters and people. Your original question was, are we looking for people that will
Like challenge each other.
Absolutely. So, one of my first questions when I'm doing like a competition show with a bunch of people is, asking for strategy or who do you bump heads with or who do you get along with? Are you extremely loyal? Are you, do you stick up for the underdog in real life? Those different kind of questions that will lead you to like the natural answers of who they're going to be once they get on screen. And then sometimes there's times where you can ask them a million questions and the person that gets on screen is completely different than anything they ever told me or anything we talked about. So especially like with these new shows that we don't know, when we're talking about strategy, it's like we're kind of just we're making it up almost like, well, my strategy will this and this. But when you get on, who knows what you're going to do? Who knows how it's going to play out?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And you've cast for strategic formats like Traders and also more experimental formats like The Circle. How do you approach those differently with who you're looking for?
Yeah, definitely. So with the circle, it was so much fun because it wasn't like casting a dating show or, one of those typical shows where I have a bunch of rules. Like they have to be single, they have to be this, they have to be that. It was like anybody. We could do old, young, all walks of life. The catfishing element was so much fun. And so the circle, I think, will always hold a really dear place in my heart because it was just like, let's go, let's get everybody and anybody on this show and highlight that and have fun with that and lean into that. And I think that's what viewers really want to watch is people that they can relate to, that looks like them, that talks like them, that, all of that instead of some of these other shows where you're like, gosh, everybody's a size zero and everybody looks this way and they all look like they're supermodels. And, that's not real life. um Competition, something like the Traders, I would dive in and I would look for those social strategy players. So someone that's familiar with like Mafia or those kind of games where they're one step ahead, they have strategy, they're thinking. Or maybe we dive into occupations. How can you use your tool from your occupation into gameplay? I'm a lawyer, I'm going to say I'm a pool guy. I'm going to leave my cards, close to my chest. They're not going to know that. They're not going to know that I'm this master, strategist, all of that kind of stuff. I could get in a hairstylist from Staten Island and she could bullshit more than an FBI guy.
And hairstyle, listen, you want to talk hairstylists, they've heard it all. They have heard it all. They have to listen to everybody. I think they probably know more about the human psyche and behavior than maybe the neuroscientist because they just hear and experience it all. So, but again, I think that's something you learn to hone in on in Sense. Got to Get Out on Hulu was really interesting because it mixed normal people, firefighters, with sort of reality celebs. So what was it like sort of mixing celebs and people who are familiar with reality and like normies? And what did you look for?
Yeah. Okay. So for the celebrity side, we bring on a very talented celebrity talent booker. So they handle those guys. And then my team and myself, we handle all the normies or the regular civilian, regular people. And so really, you don't really know the magic that's going to happen until they all get thrown in there. The biggest thing for the regular people was like, listen, this is your shot. Don't get starstruck. Don't walk in there and see somebody like Spencer Pratt and be like, oh shit. It's like, you made it there for a reason. So play your game. And Stein, he really did. And he impressed me so much. And Stein, I never knew him. I'm way older than him, but he is born and raised in Truckee, California, too. I remember one of my casting producers, Holly, found him on Instagram or something and pitched him. And she was like, Erin, he's from Truckee. And it was just like, this is so cool. Just to watch him on screen on like episode 5, I was screaming. Then what something so magical was his relationship with Cynthia and like
Mm-hmm.
how they worked together. And it didn't matter that one was a celebrity and one was a small town boy from Lake Tahoe. Like they worked together, they were a team, they conquered. I mean, just watching them hug and be so excited. And then when he did the right thing, even though he could really use that money, so it's something magical about seeing those guys come together and have some fun with some of the biggest reality stars.
I loved it. I thought it was such an interesting format. I thought it was like a fresh take. I obviously love Spencer Pratt and like all of the sort of like reality celebs and then, creating kind of new people to love and root for with your normies, I guess you could say. And I thought like the balance of it was really, really awesome. Is there someone that you like fought for and you felt like it really paid off?
Shoe Bomb. Shoe Bomb from The Circle. I mean, look, he's a huge star. Everybody loves him. When we first found him and pitched him, I don't think that, people were sold right away. And so our casting team really, really fought for him and it paid off hugely. I mean, he was the best on The Circle. It was that relationship he built with Joey Sasso. And then just now he's just thriving. I mean, he's been on a couple other spin-offs. He's on another one that Netflix has airing right now where he's such a good person and so sweet and just it's so much fun to watch him. I'm obsessed with him.
I love that. What are some of these formats have psychological elements to them, right? Whether it's physical, mental, emotional. How do you test in your casting process if someone can handle that?
Listen, there's a part that we do and then there's other parts to make sure that people are okay and all of that because nowadays I think it's really good that we all talk about our mental health because
Totally.
it's exhausting and life is hard. I'm a new mom and that is hard and I'm the first to talk about that I'm hanging on by a thread because it's real, and we're trying to do so much and nowadays we have so much demand on us. So I think the difference in the year that we're living in is it's okay to talk about mental health and be ourselves and let people know like, hey, I'm not okay all the time.
Right.
So if we're casting a show, that is going to be physically demanding mentally and physically, yes, we're going to ask those questions and we're going to go there. But everyone's going to go through psych and background and make sure everyone's okay. The networks and the production companies are excellent at taking care of their casts. When they go to film, there's always an on-site psych. There's things that are set in place to support them. So it's a loaded answer. I hope that was a good one.
No, it's all good. I mean, I think it's important to talk about, and I also think just the general taboo and stigma around mental health and protecting that for crew and for cast is really, really important. And okay, so speaking of psychological pressure, let's get into Fear Factor. I remember watching this growing up, and in fact, my family and I would have like Fear Factor nights where we would like put a whole bunch of food in a blender, or we would like turn out all the lights. We lived out in the country, turn out all the lights outside and like go do crazy stuff. And my dad would scare us. But like this was an essential part of my childhood. So I'm very excited to talk about this. It's coming back with Fear Factor, the next chapter on Fox. I mean, what does this reboot have in store 20 something years later? I'm
Yeah,
really excited.
I know, and same. I'm so excited. I did get to cast the version, I think it was 2011. So to be able to come back and cast it, this is going to be a whole new twist. So it's bigger, it's better, it's bolder, it's more daring. We're going to drop contestants off in an unforgiving remote location, a group of strangers, and together under one roof, they're going to live together and face mind blowing stunts, harrowing challenges, and a twisted game of social strategy. So I think on top of the normal fears is going to be, the fellow competitors, right? And that's going to be so much fun to watch. So we have a casting website that I'm going to plug. So go to www.fearisback.com. Fear is back. You can if you have any trouble with the website or applying and you need to get in touch with me, my Instagram is very easy to follow. It's at Casting Erin. So CastingErin. But that website is Fear is Back. It's a simple application. You do a 60-second video, tell us about your biggest fears and how you're going to conquer them, or like look forward to, facing them. And that's really it. It's going to be fun. We don't have a host lockdown yet. We don't have the amount of money that we're giving yet, but this is going to be, it's not your one episode, $50,000 thing anymore. It's different and it's bigger and better, and it's going to be like one of those large scale competition shows. So I'm
I
so
love that.
for
So
this.
it's arced.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. So you talked about a 60-second video where you talk about like your fears or conquering your fears. Are there any phobias you're hearing about that you did not know existed?
I mean, I think my original ones that I thought of, like if you were to ask me, what are you afraid of? I don't think that I would say bugs, but I was actually in the pool yesterday and one of those massive like flying beetles came. I screamed and was truly afraid like I was going to get killed. And I've got my kids in there with me. And like, it's so funny how we don't think we're afraid of things, but then when you're faced with it, I'm really afraid of dogs, which is so crazy to say. And people are like, what? I grew up in Lake Tahoe where people had big dogs roaming the streets. I mean, when I was little, it wasn't like everyone had to be on a leash and behind the doors. And I'm afraid of them to this day. If it's a dog and they're scary, I'm afraid. I have an irrational fear. So I like the fun, crazy, quirky ones like that, or phobias or ghosts or, things like that. Like, yes, everyone's afraid of like deep water and sharks and, things like that. But I'm really enjoying the really fun, quirky ones, where it's something that we wouldn't think of right away.
Right, the more like innocuous fears, like textures, or like isn't tryptophobia like the fear? It's like a lot of like holes or something.
When I see those holes, I do.
Okay,
I have a physical reaction.
me too, which I wouldn't have known about unless like it popped up on my TikTok, and then I was like, "What is this feeling? Like, what is happening?" So it's really fun. That's so interesting. So this is a show that was originally an NBC format, right? And now it's over with Fox. So how do you think that like Fox is really known for like really big, they got special forces, like they're known for like really big sort of competition formats. So how do you think that they're putting their own DNA into this reboot?
I don't know. The casting team is not part of creative at all. So I am completely in the dark. And I think that they do that on purpose because we are there, we're meeting you guys and, all of that. And actually, they're probably still even working on it, right? So casting is before all of that. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to see how they put their spin on it. I'm excited to see what they come up with. And I think it's a great idea. I mean, this is, no matter if you are older and you remember when this first came out, or if you are new and you remember like the MTV Ludacris one, like it's a show that we all loved. We enjoyed watching. It was, for me as a reality fan, I love all reality. And when I was little, I remember watching this and it was the first time that you got to like have those feelings of reality, and see, it really was the OG of reality, like before like the challenge and, those shows. I think it really built all that. So as just a reality fan, like the fact that they're doing it this way, I think is so smart and so exciting. And I think it's going to be a huge hit.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about fears just a second ago, and maybe fears we didn't know existed because of like the rise of social media. Are there like different types of fears you're tapping into that maybe you wouldn't have originally in Fear Factor? Like just again, like new sort of things that are buzzwords or things that people are talking about now?
Listen, my job is to kind of let them tell me. And so, yes, obviously we're going to get some fun different phobias and things, but it's each person's own discretion, right? What happens? Let's ask you, what's your biggest fear?
Wait,
And why?
okay.
And why? Like, is there a reason for it? Or it could be irrational.
Honest, my first thing that I want to say is like water. And I here's what's crazy, Erin. I was on the swim team for almost 10 years. Like I can swim. I was a competitive swimmer. I had a recurring nightmare growing up that I would get kidnapped and put in a water tower and I had to just like tread water. And every nightmare I have is about like a big tsunami or like a flood. And so I don't do cruises, I don't do deep water, like nothing like that. So water and then like big, like vast spaces. I remember driving from Malibu back to LA at one point through the canyons and it was getting dark and there was no light and I had a panic attack. So I don't know what that means, but those are the things that really freak me out is like unending, like the void, I guess. Maybe that's a better way to put it.
Well, I think you should apply. Get your app in the mix, girl. Let's go. And don't forget to put my name.
You know what? You might have convinced me because this is something that like actually affects like my family is like, you need some help. And so maybe this will be some exposure therapy for me and everybody else. Can you share more about the social strategy element?
So there's not too much I can go into. And I truly, honestly don't know. And they don't fill the casting team in on that stuff. So maybe after the show airs, let's hop on again and then we could dissect it.
Totally, totally. But you're used to casting for those kind of things. So you have those instincts, you've got those feelings, anything else that you want to like just plug for Fear Factor, what you're looking for, what types of people, just so we can make sure that we cast that net really wide and we get the right people in.
I think, a lot of people hear the name and they think, oh my gosh, old Fear Factor, I could never do it. They're going to do this. And it's like, I don't know. It's going to be different. And I don't know how it's going to be different, but it's like throw your hat in the ring. It's life changing money. It's a lot of fun. It's your chance at a big competition show. So come on, let's go. Get your hat in the ring and let's see if we can get you that grand prize.
I'm excited. I really, again, on the development side, I'm just excited to see how they reboot it and make it fresh. Again, like a decade or so later. I think it's going to be so awesome. So we'll have to have a part 2 with you. Okay, so in honor of this Fear Factor reboot, I'm going to do some fun rapid fire with you for these last few minutes. What is your biggest irrational fear?
Germs. I'm a germaphobe.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So sorry for the past few years.
Reason for it, I don't know if so this is my backstory. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but in 2008 I was crossing the street. I was hit by a truck and I was put in the hospital for 30 days. I couldn't had trouble walking for a year. I was on permanent disability and fought my way back into casting and had to start all over. And so that's a big story that I have, and it changed me as a person. I didn't know if I could be Erin again, if I could be good at what I do. It was really humbling and life changing. So this is like trauma fear. You know what I
Oh
mean?
my gosh.
Then, when I shake people's hands, or I'm a mom, I have kids. When I see those kids with snot and coughing in daycare and the park, I'm like a psychopath. Like my poor kids, I think I'm screwing them up. I have sanitizer in my purse. I'm squirting everyone's hands. I was a softball coach for my daughter, my 8-year-old daughter. And after the team would high five, I would be at the dugout and squirt all their little hands because they were going to go have snacks. So this one's really diving deep. And for your listeners, this is kind of what you could go look at. This is really deep stuff I'm sharing. So remember that it's okay to share the real stuff too, not just the surface level fears.
Number one, my gosh, how horrible that happened to you, but how incredibly inspiring that you were able to rebuild and get back out there and be this like bright, incredible person that you are. I mean, you just pop through the screen to me and I can just tell that you're just like such a light. So the fact that you took that experience and have been able to build on it, come back, have such an incredible career, bravo to you. And you were way ahead of the curve with the germs because we just had a global pandemic. And I could reach in my bag right now and get 3 different hand sanitizers because I keep them on me as well. So I feel you on that. And I love that you dove deep into like why that was a fear for you. And I think I think a lot of fears aren't exactly surface level. I think if we really got in there, we would hear more about them. And I am excited to see potentially how Fear Factor will
And
do that with
something
people's
that's so
stories.
cool that I just kind of came to the realization of is I'm healing now because of my both my kids in school and daycare, and I have to. It forced me to conquer it and overcome it because I have no choice. Like I can't control anymore. Like I can't control if someone sick is around my baby. She's out and like now here we go. This is like, these kids are snotty, they're disgusting. She puts everything in her mouth. And like now I notice myself like I'll touch a handle and a railing and I'll eat something or, something that I think I'm getting better and healing. So maybe this show will also heal your traumas and your fears by going on and conquering them. And we might be doing God's work.
I think like this should be rebranded as like Fear Factor therapy edition, because it is going to be some exposure therapy and it'll be good for everyone to even like heal virtually through the screen. I love that. Would you rather, this is very OG Fear Factor vibes, would you rather eat a tarantula or be buried alive with snakes for 30 seconds?
I don't do the buried alive. I don't do the I can't breathe
Mm-mm.
tight spaces. Like I would eat a tarantula, I'd stuff it through. Although there was a show airing that I saw someone eat one and they had an allergic reaction and had to get like things pulled out of their cheeks for eating them. And who knows, but I would eat it. Dip that thing in a little ranch. Just kidding.
Honestly, anything dipped in ranch, if it's the Wingstop ranch, like I'll fine, I'll eat anything. If you had to go on Fear Factor, who would be your dream celebrity teammate?
There's too many out there. Maybe it would be someone like old school from Survivor, The Challenge that I know would just like
Like Boston Rob?
he's out there, man. He's done so much though. I want to think of someone that hasn't been on everything that I'm just like obsessed with, like someone from like 90 Day Fiance or
There you go.
being like a true reality fan. Let
Yes.
me put a pin in that one. Let me think about that one.
Yes. I would need someone who's gonna like really hype me up and like get me over my mental hurdle because oof. Um, have you ever had like a scary moment during casting where someone like presented something creepy or said something weird to like prove a point?
Was doing a show very similar to like a talent show, and it was hypnotist, and we were on a very famous lot here in Los Angeles, and the hypnotist hypnotized my coworkers and our PAs and like had them perform, and they were completely out, and it was scary. And I remember like, are they going to come back out of this? Like it was just almost like, you don't really believe it or you think they're doing a magic show, but to see people, that young kids that are 18 that are fresh off the boat that you hired, that you're giving their chance, and then they're completely gone, because that was maybe one of those.
Did it make you a believer?
Totally, yeah, I'm a believer. I am.
Ooh, I'm skeptical about about like hypnotizing and tarot and psychics, but then like I see these and like mediums, but I see like the real, I don't know. I see like the mediums on TikTok. I'm like, how is that possible? So I need to have an experience like this to make me a believer. Okay, what would be your Fear Factor superpower where you're like, I can handle that, no problem? And what would be your instant tap?
I think I'm a people person. I think with the competition, I think there's going to be an element of, gameplay and strategy and getting to know people. I'm a natural born leader. I was team captain and, sports growing up. And so I think that would kind of be my strength. And, maybe, pairing with somebody that's really physically strong could be a good idea. And then a weakness is I'm just a psychopath. I'm emotional. I'm crazy. I'm going to scream. I'm going to be afraid, all of that. But I would push through because I'm a fierce competitor and I will not give up for anything. Me and my husband can't play Monopoly. We're psycho. I'll throw the board. I can't play Monopoly with my family.
I love that. Oh my gosh. And what would be your instant tap out? Is it like eating something, heights?
No, I'm not tapping out. I'm not that type.
You're like, nothing's gonna make me tap out. No, and that's clear because of what you have already been through and what you've proven to yourself, like with your personal experience and what you've had to overcome. I love that. Yeah, there's no way you're tapping out. That's so awesome. Well, it was incredible talking to you. I'm so glad we got to finally connect. Congratulations on being a new mom and still being like such a badass in this industry. Like I said, every time I turn around, you're casting a new big project, you and your team. And that's such a testament to how good you are at what you do. And it's just really been fun to see all the projects that you have and the accolades that you're getting as well. And the recognition. I feel like casting, I say this all the time, but all these shows come down to casting. All your favorite, your Mormon Wives, your Vanderpumps, your Southern Charms, like someone like Erin found your favorite reality star. And I just feel like you guys never get enough credit. So thank you so much for coming on and for sharing.
Thank you so much. Everybody go apply. Fearisback.com.
Love it. Okay, thanks so much, Erin.
Bye.
Okay, what a fun conversation with Erin. Should I apply for the Fear Factor reboot, yes or no? Like, part of me, because I loved the show so much as a kid, wants to, and part of me is like, I would unravel if presented with any of the things that I talked about. I don't know if I could do it. I don't need you guys to see that. I need just me and my therapist to handle that. Really looking forward to the Fear Factor reboot. Again, if you think that this show could be right for you, you can go apply at www.fearisback.com. Also, feel free to follow Erin on social media. She is always posting about different casting opportunities for all types of different shows. Let me see if I will put her Instagram in the show notes, but she's always posting casting calls for shows. So if getting on reality television is something you've always wanted to check off your list, this is your girl. Thanks so much again for listening. Last few episodes until the end of the season. I will see you next week with a really fun guest, a bombshell, if you will. That's right. Can't wait to see you next week on the Unscripted Files. Don't forget, like, rate, review, subscribe, all the things. See you soon. The Unscripted Files is brought to you by Good Gravity Entertainment. Thank you to producer Bonnie Adams, original music by composer William Wright, artwork by Lisa Schweikert, and photography by Reid Schick.